Oh, look at all these clowns saying first, mate. Samuel Canoplars. That's... You're first. You're the firstest. Bam. Wham. Thank you, Petro, for your beautiful musics. How's everyone doing today? I hope you are all well. If you'd like to ask a question pretty much about anything, then put question in brackets. It will help me pick it out. Although I'll try and pick it out even if it doesn't have that. I burped there. It's very professional. I'm not a professional YouTuber. I'm not a professional streamer. I mean, I am, but I don't act professional. There's no professionality really to my work. Or at least quality. You know what I mean. This is my sole job. So that's true. So what I mean is I am a professional. Shut up. I hope everyone's good. I have been out of sorts for the last few days. Mainly because my dad has come back and is recovering and is all well. Like, he seems pretty good. Hopefully it's all over now. We'll find out soon. But I'm sort of like been thrown for a bit of a loop, and I'm still recovering from just the whole affair. It was just bam. And now I'm sort of like, So basically, I was going to make a video today, and I went, I can't be asked to make a video today. I can't concentrate still on anything. I can't read properly at the moment, which is really annoying. So on our stream, I can read questions. I can read people's questions and just relay them, but stuff. And then what I'll do is in the evening, I'll just do a quick summary of Around the Verse. Bam. Done. Boom. Like genius plans, eh? Isn't 3.5 the update with the new flight model? Yes, that is correct. 3.5 is the new update with the new flight model. And I wanted to talk about some of the bits with that new flight model. We're expecting an Evocati test flight build of that pretty damn soon, probably. Expect the Evocati to be testing just a flight model pretty damn soon, if they're not already, but pretty damn soon. And then I'll get more and more of that 3.5 patch as it goes on towards a live build coming at the end of March. What else have we got? Some questions here. Who's that speaking in the background? It's me. It's me. Shouldn't be anyone else speaking in the background. No videos going on.
Tricksy little hobbitses.
My man, 15 months, longer than most relationships.
Oh, relapse. I mean, that's a sad thought that it's longer than most relationships. But thank you very much for 15 months of being subscribed to me. I know some people like up to around 2 years and stuff. That's cray-cray. Bored, do you prefer people watch on YouTube or Twitch? Yes. I don't care. It's whatever's comfortable for people, isn't it? That's what... When it comes to people viewing, giving feedback, donating, whatever's the most comfortable, and that's why I provide loads of different options. Are maneuvering thrusters constantly activated when on planets? Well, technically, no. So as far as I am aware, thrusters are under more stress on planets, and thrusters are needed to be activated to keep you hovering, keep you afloat. They don't have to be activated, and you can, glide downwards, though. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck for woodchuck? How much wood could a woodchuck chuck for woodchuck? Oh, god damn you! I used to be good at being able to talk. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Fuck. 7. And fuck you for making me not be able to say it the first time. 3rd. Oh, I'm the worst. Bored, mate, why are you live when I'm trying to watch Sheet? I didn't know he was live, did I? I don't look at other people that I know that I'm friends with who are in my stream team or anything, do I? He could be doing anything. What's he doing? Is he drawing? Is he talking? Is he doing something about Star Citizen? I don't fucking know, do I? He's doing Anthem, isn't he? He's doing Anthem. He said he's going to be doing Anthem today. I don't know. I was bored. I take precedence. Is it reasonable to think that we might possibly get a Milky Way solar system as well as Earth and its other planets in game? Okay, so the systems that we're going to have in game, the star systems, may be related to or influenced by real world systems and real universe systems and stars and things. However, other than the Sol system, the system with Earth in it, I am not sure if any others are going to be real ones. They might be influenced by real ones. They might have the names of real ones, but I don't think they're going to be real systems. So yeah, Milky Way, sort of like their own version of a galaxy. It's going to be significantly smaller as well. Like we're only going to be like having 100 to 120 sort of systems probably in the lifespan of the game. Maybe a few more. They might expand out. They might suddenly go, we've got a way of doing entirely procedurally generated systems that we will add after the game that allows people to explore in cunning new ways. And that might happen. Who knows? Glad your dad's doing good. Thank you very much appreciated. Yes, I'm very happy my dad's okay as well. They still have to check his lungs to see if they're cancerous, like the cancer cells have spread or anything. But whatever, he's fine through the operation. This would have been the first step towards him being fully cured anyway, if he's not already. So you've got to be realistic and that sort of stuff about things. I'm not living on hope, and I'm not going to give in to despair or anything like that. A more sensible middle ground of we'll deal with life as it comes at us is sort of like my approach. How do you think the Argo SRV will affect the Crucible? Why would you repair a ship in dangerous space when you can tow it to a safe port for repair? That's a very good point. So, the Crucible, as I understand it, is very good at giving quick repairs to ships when they're inside, and also going to be able to patch up the hulls of capital ships and larger ships. Now, some of those larger ships and capital ships will have to go to very specialist ports for repair, like shipyards and things, because they are so large and because they cannot be serviced in other places. So the Crucible is great for them. And obviously the Argo can't tow giant spacecraft unless there's loads of Argos. So the Argo can, as far as we understand it at the moment, create a sort of like tractor bubble around a target, and more Argos can get involved in that, Argo SRVs, to carry larger ships and to carry ships faster. So Crucible got very specific uses. It is for repair. It is for spot repairing even large capital ships, especially hull work and stuff like that, and ships inside its hangar. But the Argo tractor gameplay, evacing ships, helping ships do a load of the tasks, its utility, tractor beam gameplay. But yeah, some of the smaller ships, like cutlass-sized, or up to Andromeda, up to Constellation size, apparently, potentially, a single Argo SRV can hot evac, and that might be a significantly better idea than using a Crucible in that situation. Are jump points possibly coming in 2019 board? I mean, it's possible, but it's very unlikely. They're not on the roadmap. However, I suspect they want jump points to some extent done for Squadron 42. I can't imagine, I can imagine, but I think it's very unlikely that Squadron 42 is just in the Odin system. And they probably won't want to do more than like a couple of long period transition times between things in Squadron 42. So what I mean by that is that they're going to want it to be seamless and constant gameplay. So briefing, sort of like pre-briefing, briefing, get to your ship, do the mission, come back, debriefing, and then after the debriefing, and then on to the next mission. And I'm not sure if there's going to be much transitional period between them. You might travel to a new target, bam, bam, next mission. You might, because it could be just over a space of quite quick period of time, Squadron 42. And they might have periods where you go to sleep. They might have cinematic periods where they give you a glimpse at something that's happening. But I don't think they're going to want to break immersion too much. So I think that because of that, they're probably having at least the graphics and the feel of jump points done, even if they're not ready for the persistent universe in Squadron 42, probably. Something that we might see at like CitizenCon, might see like a test of jump points, something like that. I'm expecting we'll see jump points and another system or two next year. And I think we'll actually see them in game. And I think we'll see the Pyro system and the Magnus system. A video on it. Question, is the economy system going to be implemented soon? The economy system is going to be iterative process, so they are adding more and more economy features from patch to patch and tweaking it. You're going to be really, for a more full economy experience, it'll be either with or after full persistence, which you'll start to get more of an economy experience with every patch, is what I'm saying. Full persistence, we're not sure if it's going to be at the end of this year or if it's going to be sort of like early to mid next year. What to expect from ArcCorp? So, ArcCorp is going to be big city planet. There's going to be the sort of like landing zone where you go to when you want to land on the planet. So you'll land there and it'll sort of like be some form of spaceport or port. And then in a separate area, there'll be Area 18. And you'll get to Area 18 via some form of floating space bus or something like that. They've sort of like, it's not going to be a tram system, they've sort of said, and they've said some form of transit vehicle or something like that will take you. I mean, it might be a train system, they might have been trolling, but there'll be a detached landing zone from Area 18, and that will take you to Area 18. There's also going to be quite a low to the ground no-fly zone, so you'll be able to fly around the city much better. And lots of the buildings will be above the ground, and you'll be able to land on them. And those buildings will get more and more functionality as they go forward. And what I mean by that is that some of those buildings will act like outposts and be formations, so you'll be able to land on them, and you'll be able to go into them. Like they're, you know, some of them will have interiors. I'm not sure if we're going to have interiors for any of them in 3.5. But you'll definitely be able to land on them. Well, thank you very much. Very much for the bits. Mantis appreciated. Bits for 3.5 Evocati. What, you're You think I can just provide it to you now? So I hope that they get rid of the Evocati, sort of like NDA. Might not having an NDA on it, but I'd like people to be able to produce content, talk about the Evocati build, be able to make videos and stream it. Just because people are gonna stream it, or people are gonna create content on it anyway, and just in leaks form on the Reddit. I just think it's a bit silly for them to have that Evocati phase like that. But I suppose then they'd have to allow all the big YouTubers and streamers into the Evocati. And if they didn't, then some people would complain, and maybe it's better for them to keep it closer to their chest. Whatever, it's the Evocati phase and PTU phases are amazing for them. They basically get free QA testers, huge amounts of people to be able to test their game. They're very passionate and very good at diagnosing and, well, not diagnosing, but triaging and listing and describing bugs. I know we're getting the new flight model, but what are your thoughts on the way ship combat, in the way combat is... Let me reread this. I know we're getting the new flight model, but what are your thoughts on the way combat is ships flying in a direct circle is very unrealistic and annoying. It's not really realistic. So that's why it confused my brain. It's the way that's worded. Okay, so we don't know until the new flight model's in our hands what it's going to be like, basically. They've talked about it. They've showed some pictures of it, but you can't really get a sense of how it's going to play and fly and how it's going to differ in atmosphere to space. The current flight model we have was not ideal. However, if they had entirely fixed the flight model, made ESP better, and made the ships feel less floaty, I would have been probably happy with what we've got. If they'd fixed it or got it all polished. The idea of a new flight model, I think is good as well. I like the ideas of what they were talking about, like you'll want to get on the tails of other fighters. It will fly like traditional fighters and World War II fighters do. I mean, it's not space combat, but we don't have space combat IRL, so, you know, it's got to be a bit action-packed. It's got to be Wing Commander-like. I mean, that's what it's supposed to be. So I'm looking forward to it, but I don't know yet until I'm playing it. The gunships flying in a circle. Well, they're not going to fly in a direct circle, but they're going to try and orbit ships that they're fighting to get as many of their guns on them. We'll have to see how that AI evolves. And we'll have to see how players fly those ships. Like, players might not fly gunships in the same way AI do. They might go, well, actually, it's better to, you know, not to move at all and keep on, or just pivot on the spot or something like that. Or keep on doing rolls or something. Who knows? But we'll have to wait and see. I'm very much looking forward to the meta change, though. Assuming that the flight model is not entirely trash and ESP and combat aren't trash, then I'll start redoing my series on Ship Buyer's Guide, and then I can look at game meta, and I can look at combat better and stuff like that. And I'll play for a few hours a day just to get my skills up, so that even if they iterate, and they will, on the flight model and balance it and change bits, it'll still be transferable skills because it will still be based on the same model. Over here in the States, we're being told the UK is selling Brexit survival kits with food for a month, and so and that if the UK will likely go in with no deal, they can just not exit. Brexit survival kits with food for a month, and so that if the UK will likely go in with no deal, but they can just not exit. So, I'll give you a very brief description. There's the potential that the UK will have a Brexit with no deal with the EU, which would mean a crash out of the EU. Some people that are basically fear-mongering, because that's all that media does in general, or at least some media does. It's a bit of a sweeping generalization, I apologize. We'll just go for more clickbaity, read my news sort of headlines. It's not going to be the end of the world if we have a no-deal Brexit. It's not ideal, certainly not. A good deal would be the best option. And when we're talking about deals, we're talking about deals with Europe on various things. So it'll be like customs unions, it'll be single market, it'll be the freedom of movement between countries from the EU to the UK, things like that. I suspect even if we have no deal, it will very quickly and rapidly be decided that there will be no tariffs to the UK from the EU and things like that. A lot of stuff will stay the same. There's the worry that planes will be grounded. There's the worry that that goods won't be able to travel between the borders and stuff like that. That's a little bit more mad. The world won't stop. People will be sensible about these deals and they will be at least semi-prepared. But there's still the worry of that. The Brexit survival kits are hilarious. They are literally like survival kits of here's loads of tins of food for like a month's worth of food or so. But I thought it was very, very funny. But the stuff that's happening in the UK is not ideal. It's all a bit of a clusterfuck, and it's a sort of like a brute fact something's happening. We might get a okay deal based on what's happening in Parliament and with the EU at the moment, but it's going to be whether the House of Commons vote that they're okay with that deal. It might be a terrible deal, who knows? But so we might have a terrible deal, we might have an okay deal, or we might just have a hard Brexit, or a no-deal Brexit. Any Bar Citizen plans this year? Where will we see you around? Big JR, I need to come to some more events. I'm going to be going to BrisbaneCon. I'm going to be going to CitizenCon. And I will try and get to some other Bar Citizens. I will look at some Bar Citizens after this stream. What to expect from ArcCorp? I just talked a bit about that. But also at ArcCorp, so at Area 18, we are going to have a new mission giver. Is it Eddie? With me 1 second. I can't remember the mission giver's name. Eddie Pars for Microtech. It's Twitch. Her name is Twitch. I can't say her name because I'm the worst. Let me bring her up on the screen. Okay, that's her. The name. That's what she looks like. Her nickname is Twitch though. And then we'll have some more shops there. They'll be like, well, we've previously seen the really early iteration of Area 18. So expect a larger version of that. Maybe not Levski sized, but reasonably big. Maybe larger than Levski. I think they might have said that it's going to be at least the size, not Levski, Lorville. I think they did actually say it's going to be at least the size of Lorville, but I assumed that was the separate area and Area 18 together, but maybe they just meant Area 18. Any tips for completing investigation job? I've been having trouble finding bodies after getting out of my ship. I'm able to find the bodies pretty quickly, but that's because I've done a load of those missions. Typically, they're reasonably close to the beacons, and I don't know how to orient myself. You should find the one typically sort of like on the outskirts of the main sort of like derelict ship. So you have bits of ship, and typically they're pretty close to one of those parts, so like on the outskirts of that. That's why you normally find people. I'll have a look. I don't think I've done a guide or a mission for all that on my channel, so I can have a look at that later and see if there's something I can do and double check and see if there is a technique to it. But I'm pretty quick at finding them typically. Shouldn't take you too long, but I suppose if you don't know how to do them, you're like too far away from any of the reasonable parts, you might just be searching in a big circle and you might have just missed one. Like, where could this one guy be? Any idea where Cloud Tech disappeared? They have Planet Fog and other things, but I think those things are different. And it doesn't, what they were talking about before, it's not on the roadmap. So is it in the roadmap for Squadron 42? Obviously they need it for the coil and the Odin system in Squadron 42. In Q4 2019 is the gas cloud VFX improvements. So that's sort of like the final stages of the gas cloud tech that they want for the coil for those gas clouds that we've seen. Now, that tech will be subsumed and used in Star Citizen to make Nebula, to make areas of interest, and, well, obviously for the Odin system as well, which will also be in the Persistent Universe for Star Citizen. And yes, it is a step towards gas giants. However, gas giant tech is going to be a bit different, and I assume going to be done a bit after the gas cloud tech. Now, they wanted to get Urizen in by the end of the year. However, that doesn't look like it's going to happen now with the remap, the roadmap rescheduling. So I would expect to see gas giant tech and gas cloud tech in game for the Persistent Universe next year. And I would expect to see like maybe Q1, Q2 of next year, gas clouds, sort of like nebulas in interesting areas using it. And then in probably mid next year, them start to get those gas giants in, so that actually start to see Crusader and Urizen. So will all other ships that utilize tractor beams need moving arms, or just the SRV? If so, why? So the SRV has a moving arm and a specialist rig, so that it can literally grab things and move things much more easily. It is very focused on powerful tractor beam gameplay. Other ships might have much weaker tractor beams that can only move very small things, and the SRV is going to have a big range of movement, so it doesn't need to maneuver so much. The Cutlass or the Caterpillar or whatever with its tractor setup might only be able to get very small objects, very small ships, maybe like snubs or whatever, even just small cargo boxes, some smaller asteroids and things, smaller bits of salvage. With its tractor beam, and they might have to face it, or have a very small range of movement with that. But the SRV, much larger range of movement, much more powerful tractors. Will there be side missions from people in cities and space stations? I believe so, yes. That's one of the sort of systems they want in the game. You'll be able to go to admin offices and bars and things on these little space stations, these little truck stops and things, and find missions. Don't we know Squadron 42 is in the Kellogg system with the prison planet? ? We know it's going to at least be in the Odin system, in the coil, and we've seen the vertical slice. And anything else at the moment is don't 100% know. Cloud Tech is on the Squadron 42 roadmap and is referenced in other tasks in the Persistent Universe roadmap, just isn't top level item right now. Yes, but they are working on that tech and they will have that in the game. So the roadmaps don't show necessarily what they're working on currently, they just show when things are going to be finished. You see what I mean? So they could be working on, and are, loads of different things. Will there be resistances with armor, like heat resistance, cold resistance, maybe acidic resistance, due to atmospheres, so bringing different armors will be a thing. Jabe, I think to some extent, yes. Whether that's done with armor or subcomponents or other gear remains to be seen. But there are going to be environmental hazards. There are going to be things that are very hot, very cold, and that sort of stuff. So probably some things will give you resistance to that. It might be that you need to have like armor that gives you resistances on your actual character more than anything else, or just subcomponents that give you resistance to EM or sand or whatever, because there's going to be lots of things, lots of weather, lots of environmental effects that would cause problems with your ship and your character. They haven't really confirmed what they're going to do with it. They have suggested that those will be a thing. When they keep adding new textures and graphical improvements like nebulas, etc., will that potentially increase rig requirements, or will the consistent optimizations balance it out? There's going to be they're going to want to use a sort of like many of the resources they can to get the best possible immersion and quality they can, but also keep sort of performance balanced. So yeah, it's going to be a balancing act between them adding new cool things in, optimizing that, getting it to as sensible as possible, and then getting the performance as good as possible and bugs and stuff. So balancing act between rig requirements, constant optimizations, that sort of stuff. they're not going to want people to have super rigs to play the game, and they're going to want the game to run as intended and look amazing on medium to high end systems, without the system having to be the best system in the universe. Just have the sort of like experience they want everyone to have. I just want to say you're awesome, and thank you for all the hard work you do. Oh, thank you very much, Ash Morris. It's something that I found that I'm good at. It doesn't stress me out as much as cooking. I love Star Citizen, I love gaming, I love the community, I love the project. So appreciate it, thank you. When do you figure the PTU will start? We're approaching the end of Q1 with no Evocati yet. We could hit we've got over a month before the end of Q1. I suspect that we'll have Evocati end of this week or end of next week. Then in 2 weeks-ish, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we'll have a PTU phase. They're going to let us sell our full cargo load. Takes forever to unload cargo. Yes, they're aware that that's annoying. They do stuff with balancing and database stuff that they need to all fix, but we will have a better buying, selling, and economy system soon, and that will be iterative. It will keep on every patch. We'll see a little bit better, some extra stuff, some little improvements. Hopefully they'll fix that for 3.5 though. I want about to go buy, sell, done, boom, see you later. What do you think about space radio in your ship? They've said they can do that. It's just whether or not they do. Obviously, they do have the render to texture tech as well, and they want lots of different reasons, well, lots of different things for you to be able to do on your mobiGlas and in your ship. So, yeah, maybe there'll be some music, maybe there'll be ways of accessing web pages, and maybe there'll be lots of cool things to do in-game while you're, hauling or whatever. Why gunships like the Connie, Andromeda, or multi-crew ships like Freelancer have less guns on towers than into pilots' hands? It doesn't discourage multi-crew gameplay. It doesn't encourage multi-crew gameplay. So I think they just need to make turrets powerful and useful, and then it will probably be fine. Multi-crew gameplay is not just about like managing turrets. There's going to be lots of running around the ship, repairing it, junction boxes blowing up, defending the ship with the snubcraft, boarding, and lots of multi-role stuff as well. Are we going to carry items that don't fit into inventory, like clothes and weapons? Clothes and weapons will all need to be fitted onto your character or be held by your character. You might have a small area where you can also have pocket items. When you buy certain things, you might have them delivered to your ship directly, or a hangar directly, or a station directly, or something as well. But you'll need to, for the most part, be literally, physically carrying stuff on your attachment points on your character to have them in your inventory. But there will be pocket items. Hey, BoredGamer, I have a few questions for you, but today I'll ask one. I think they really need to finish content versus releasing new. What's your thoughts? Also, super happy your pop made it through. Congrats. Yeah, they need to. What the finishing content is releasing new. What? Yeah, so they need to finish the game. This year, they are focusing on the core of the game. Squadron 42 stuff, getting that into the persistent universe as well. And then we have the basics of everything and the Squadron 42 gameplay in the persistent universe, basically. And then they need to keep on adding more and more gameplay area and gameplay loops. It's literally just those. And I suppose releasing new ships that go with those loops. I know I should probably be looking on the roadmap, but when can we expect salvaging mechanics in the game? 3.8 December, end of this year. I've been alright, Scott. My dad's recovering from lung cancer. He's just had an operation to remove it. Why I've been a bit out of sorts. will cities be ever fully explorable, rather than just a few scattered locations? They will not be fully explorable. They might be largely explorable. They might have some interiors to explore. They might be pretty big. But they're not going to be fully explorable. Not like GTA 5. How do you feel about the prison system talked about at CitizenCon? I think it's a solid punishment, a good idea, potentially for the bounty hunting, outlaw, and that sort of mechanics. It'd be interesting to see how they deal with people once they get taken down with less than lethal force. So you get taken down, less than lethal force, or when you're wanted with lethal force or whatever, do you just immediately spawn at a prison or at an area like a prison or whatever based on your crimes? And prison system sounds like a good idea. You have people in a prison, they have to serve their time there, or they can break out, or they can do missions to shorten their time, or they can pay off their debts, things like that. So there's a lot of things they can do with the law and reputation systems when it comes to outlaws. There needs to be risk and reward there. There needs to be an incentive for bounty hunters to actually capture people and use less than lethal force. There also needs to be fun and not depressing gameplay when it comes to being captured. So I just treat people as cargo. So as soon as you get taken down by less than lethal force, counts as you basically dying, but you just spawn in prison, and that bounty hunter has you as cargo, and they go and deliver it, but it's separate from your current new story. What's the biggest hurdle to increasing server population? So it is literally the optimization of the servers. They need to get server-side object container streaming in. We currently have client-side. This allows servers to server-side object container streaming allows servers to save states and where items and everything else is, and then sort of like load that out of memory, pause it, whatever, and then can load it back in later. This is going to humidly come in with full persistence at the same time, but they need that for servers. They also just need to optimize the shit out of them. And then as soon as they've optimized that, they can add larger populations. They want server ticks to be at 30 as well. This is compared to games like Apex Legends, which is 20 ticks. So they are going for a reasonable amount of ticks, so 30 updates a second. They say, I don't fucking... You know what I mean. You know what I mean. I heard it was the number of physics calculations being overwhelming, but you're the only source I trust. Yeah, they just need to optimize everything. So they need to be able to load out, and they also need to optimize what data is sent to the client. So at the moment, far too much data is sent to the client and needs to be validated by the server, things like that. So there's just loads and loads and loads of optimizations that need to be done. People are saying that the servers get overwhelmed by data and by like projectiles and physics calculations and things, and like the projectile manager will help with that. The new flight system is significantly more simple and should help with that. They're making the AI and lots of this other stuff a lot more lightweight when it comes to network code. Is the task of providing more servers worldwide dependent on Amazon, Lumberyard, or CIG, or maybe a little of both? Well, I mean, that's a really good point. I'm not 100% sure. I know that obviously CIG uses the AWS network infrastructure, so they do use Amazon for that. I suspect they have a very bespoke deal with them though, and one of the things they want to do is optimize like multi-threading and that sort of stuff for their servers, so they can get the smallest amount of servers as possible for their needs, because servers are expensive, and it's very scalable with AWS, which is Amazon Web Services, which is the service side. But obviously down to CIG to decide how many they want and what's appropriate. So it is a little of both. We'll have to see if their tech and that infrastructure allows for everyone around the world to be able to play together in their server mesh servers. We don't know if it's going to or not. We don't know if there's going to be too much lag. We don't know if there's going to be too much ping. Hopefully there shouldn't be a problem. because by the time that's ready, it should have quite good pings with the rest of the world with their infrastructure, but I have to wait and see, because they might just segregate the world and you'd have to choose to move over to the America service if you're in the Europe or whatever. Have they said anything about a more fleshed out quantum mechanic, like being able to plot quantum points to the middle of nowhere in the system? Would you like to see that? There is going to be a more in-depth mapping and plotting system. We're not 100% sure whether you'll be able to plot quantum points to the middle of nowhere. The last I had, they hadn't 100% decided, but they were looking at it. And yes, I would probably be okay with you being able to plot points in the middle of nowhere, and then drop nav beacons there to save that location. They've talked about the nav beacon system, so you literally drop a point and then you can share that point or whatever. Then you can set up your own trade routes and stuff, and then people can scan those down. They can still use their scanners to find things if they're clever. Taking them over 2 years to make one star system, looking at the Arc map. How could they possibly hope to add all those systems? Because it's taken them 2 years to not just do that one system, but to do loads of mechanics and all of the tools to create systems, and they're building on biomes and stuff. I've done a variety of videos on this. Basically, they can proceed to generate 100 systems probably in a week or two if they want to. It's then them doing the individual biomes, the new biomes for each of those. Once they get those in, they have lots more variation. So at the moment in the Stanton system, they're building out city tech, they're building out all the procedural tech that enables them to build out the rest of the universe much, much quicker. So Pyro Magnus system, very easy for them to build out very quickly next year. A load of the other systems, very quick and easy to build out. Some of the systems need a lot more bespoke content, but they are working on so many systems simultaneously. I'm talking about gameplay systems rather than just star systems, but also the interior generation of structures and cities, the exterior generation of that, lots of different types of starport, mission, economy stuff, all of that simultaneously. So it will come as part and parcel, but they can quite rapidly generate loads of other systems when they want to. They will want to work on hero landing zones for all of these places still, which will take a bit of time. They will want to work on hero assets for some of these places as well. But Squadron 42, then they're working on literally gameplay area and gameplay loops. And the mission system subsumption. Do you think we'll get a backpack for physical items that we might find exploring an alien rune or something? We might get clothing and backpacks as pocket stuff. Yeah, maybe. Backpack's not going to be able to carry that much, though. We'll be able to carry lots of stuff in our hands. We'll be able to load that onto vehicles and that sort of thing. Expect most items that you can find in alien runes to be able to be picked up in your hands or placed onto your person anyway. Like what I'd expect. Anything more than that would require you to salvage, bring some sort of salvage vehicle there or ship. Do you have any plans to run an in-game version of your channel, or perhaps news channel, perhaps? Yeah, we'll see what the render to texture tech and the Meiko news van allows. I'm going to be covering Star Citizen in all its forms, so I'll definitely consider that. That seems reasonable to do. How do you move the camera around while your ship? Z allows you to unlock the camera. F4 allows you to go to the third person. Oh, everyone's answered you as well. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. What is the point of live capture and the prisoner holds in the bounty hunter ships if you're just going to teleport to prison? The incentive to get a prisoner to a prison is getting your reward. Yeah, so Murky Water, assume that once you've... So we don't know how it's going to work. My assumption is that if you get taken down with less lethal, or you get taken down by lethal methods, you literally just become cargo. You can put them in a pod. They're going to be out for fucking ages anyway, or being pumped with morphine or whatever, something keeping them sedated. And then the bounty hunter just goes and delivers them whenever they want. But that person isn't standing around waiting for that. They just get immediately teleported to prison. So the bounty hunter still gets their full gameplay loop and still delivers them. to get their reward or whatever, but it's assumed that players also just go straight to prison. That's how I'd do it. You gotta cut back on some of the immersion to have the gameplay, so it's reasonable and keeps on playing and it's fun. How can we make suggestions to CIG? I think a training setting for weapons would be awesome, so orcs can practice combat without getting crime stats or actually destroying expensive loadouts. I mean, yeah, that would be interesting. You could have there are going to be new ammo types, so maybe there could be training ammo, which literally is just lights shooting at each other. Or I mean, less than lethal might work, so you could shoot at each other. Obviously, they are going to be expanding out Star Marine and Arena Commander at some point as well, so maybe there'll be some more modes for that. If you want to make suggestions to CIG, you can go on their forums. You can send them a message on CS, on the service thing as well. But I would suggest that there's a variety of threads and sections on Spectrum you can literally go to ask questions and to suggest things. You know if personal hangars are going to be available for us to use for our stuff with this 3.5 update? I do not believe that personal hangars and persistent hangars are coming in 3.5. I think they need full persistence first for that. Yeah, detached portions of your ship should remain powered and habitable in certain situations, even if your ship is damaged or destroyed. Bits of it are floating around. If you've got a power plant in the section of your ship and the power's unbroken there, then that will still potentially, some rooms will be habitable and have power. Going to be lots more about the destroying of individual components and damaging of those components in ship fights in the future with larger ships. Having your shields and weapons up all the time regarded as an aggressive move, like in Star Trek. Or is it a completely normal thing in Star Citizen as you're always battle ready? I suspect it will be less efficient for you doing other tasks if you've constantly got your shields and weapons fully powered. It will be more of an efficiency thing. You want your engines and your quantum drives and stuff like that more powered. In some systems, you're going to want to have your shields fully powered, like in the... Is it Pyro that's got a horrible star? Or is it Magnus? One of those systems has a flare star, and you're going to want your shields on all the time, because otherwise you're going to take a load of damage from excessive radiation and heat and things, and solar flares. Also, isn't Stanton one of the more complicated systems with so many habited planets? Yeah, it's got a huge range of biomes and lots of different interesting tech, architecture. So you've got Microtech, very different from Crusader, very different from ArcCorp, very different from Hurston. So all very, 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 very different biomes, very, very different architecture. And that's why they wanted to go to do that system. With Squadron 42, I imagine we'll get Pyro, Nyx, Odin, Kellogg. After Squadron 42 is released. What do you think? Yeah, Pyro Magnus. I'd say Pyro Magnus. And then Nyx and Odin, probably good shouts. I think probably the Kellogg system is going to be a system that Squadron 42 does take part in, because we've seen some potential teasers of that in around the verse. And they probably said some stuff about it as well. Yeah, I think that's probably pretty accurate. Lear as well, they showed that planet with the sandworm on. That was from Lear. Lear 3, I think. I'm amazed how often I have to explain the process and then people don't believe it. Lol. People are willing to not believe it if they don't want to. People haven't seen games made like this before. That's fine. People are allowed a certain amount of... How long's that game been in development? Weren't they supposed to deliver in 2014 and stuff? People can say that, and in some situations they're right. It's cool to be skeptical about games. We've been burnt so many times in the past, and a lot of games become trash, or they have this huge hype, and they sort of like massively disappoint. And Star Citizen is aimed to try to not do that. That is why it is taking a long time. The hype for it is sometimes real. the marketing for it is sometimes wrong because they do play on that hype. They do play on that hype to generate money from concept sales, certainly, and for each of those major releases, they sort of like go, this is like a finished product. It's not. It's like an alpha, and it's like some new features in the alpha, and some of them are amazing, and some of them are quite fun. But it's there's a little bit of a mismatch there, and I suppose that's because no one has really done what they're doing like this before, and it's on such a massive scale now. But hopefully that means we're going to get a fucking fantastic game out of it. But a bit of, skepticism's fine, especially when people aren't invested or interested in the game. It takes a lot of research. There's quite a high barrier to entry to Star Citizen to sort of like understand the project as it is now, because it's gone through so many phases. People that have been there since the beginning, they probably understand it a lot better. Some of those people are disenfranchised because they wanted an entirely different game. Some of those original Kickstarter backers, for sure. But I kind of got on board once the scope of the game changed. I was like, that's when I actually started noticing Star Citizen and going, "Ooh, this looks cool." That's true of a lot of other people. Are you in a primary org? So I've got Nomad Black, which is an org I'm planning to run with my friends and do some content on. I've got the BoredGamer org, which I'm planning to run as more as a social org for organisation, and also doing some news and stuff in game as well. But I will very much consider joining lots of different industrial lawful orgs or neutral orgs. Participate and play with them. Like I know I have a reasonable amount of power when the game goes live because I'll be able to do like PR type stuff, and I'll have a lot of exposure for certain orgs, being able to for them to help recruiting. So yeah, I want to leverage that to somewhat, because I'm going to be playing Star Citizen for myself as well, not just for my channel. I want to do well in Star Citizen. I want to enjoy it, and I'm largely an economy and industrial player. But anything that makes money, I'm a businessman. Do you think procedural cities will ever have interiors in large areas of the cities? I think to some extent, yes. They are going to have some explorable interiors beyond just the very basic. Question, is the credit system back on when completing a mission? Sorry, I don't understand what that means. Can you rephrase that? E3 demo showed a ship's cockpit opening up as a player was walking towards it. Is this going to be a feature? Or they have said they don't want remote access, or they weren't going to have remote access using a Mobi, but that might change. Did show a ship opening up as the pilot walked towards it, so maybe it's a military feature. Will there be items, gear, weapons, or even ships that you won't be able to buy, but you can discover or build? Not that they've really talked about. Well, so the idea is that everything will be obtainable in game. Okay, now with some of the larger ships, they might not have them in the game immediately. You might be able to find some of them. So like there might be a damaged, abandoned, derelict Bengal carrier in one of the systems or something that someone could grab. But you should be able to buy these ships, have them commissioned. We're not sure if we're going to be able to build ships in game. Not something they've currently discussed, having them separately built by players or whatever. So yeah, there might be some things that are acquired in other ways other than buying them with in-game credits, but we don't know. But expect that you can find some big ships and some medium ships and stuff in the verse, and you'll be able to repair them, salvage them, that sort of thing. Do you think the Argo SRV will be viable for piracy, holding a ship in place for a boarding party? Yes. I also think it will be viable for grabbing cargo from ships, aiding in that sort of like gameplay, helping transfer cargo to your Caterpillar, whatever. However, I'm not entirely 100% sure how tractor beams are going to work, but I I believe they stated a while ago that they wanted them to only work on ships that are either disabled, passive, or otherwise not fighting against the tractor beam. So you would have to disable a ship first before grabbing it with the tractor beam. And then if its engines came back online, it would probably be able to break it. That's what I'm expecting from tractor beams as well. Given that Lorville feels very incomplete, yes. Do you think continuing development on Lorville is not on the roadmap? No, I think you'll see tweaks and bits to Lorville just from the patches. They're just not on the roadmap. I am Banksy. Bored, how can I give my account away? I have a Carrot, Hornet, and Merchantman. I'm done waiting. I'd say continue to wait rather than give your account away. There's, if you want to make some money from it, you can always go and have a look at the, at your own risk, Reddit_trades, the grey and black markets. If you desperately have to give them away, you're more than welcome to give all those delicious ships to me. With physical inventories coming in 3.7, do you think we will get our hangars with that patch, or will CIG have to fake it a bit until everyone has a place to put their items? So they could have it so that your items get delivered to your stations, to your hab rooms, and you can have them delivered to your ships, spawn those items in your ship lockers. So yeah, they could fake it a bit. That's basically what I'm saying. Have indeed caught me live, Mike. Good for you. People often reference large capital ship multi-crew ships as Endgame, but do you think there will be any Endgame solo ships? Or is it the whole concept of Endgame in Star Citizen a misnomer? It's a misnomer for the most part, because people are going to be using these capital ships straight away. There's lots of different ships for lots of different purposes. Even you're going to want prospectors, and you're going to want certain ships going out to find land claims, finding materials, finding places for people to build. There's going to be people doing all sorts of things at every level in a similar way that you can do it with Eve. So Endgame is anything you want it to be. There will be some stuff that is more sort of like high level late game as well, which will probably be more like the fleet battles, more of the capital ships. But it's going to be people doing high tier exploration, high tier mining, sort of like people flying around in stealth ships, or stealthing around in a saber, doing some sort of like resting scannings or whatever, or people with a small wing of ships doing a very hard fight in Vandal space, getting in and out, capturing ships, lots of things. So yeah, I think there's going to be late game versions of all the gameplay mechanics, and it's a bit of a misnomer because you can sort of like do all of it straight away almost. I'm very much looking forward to the escape pod mechanics. Yeah, so I think we may even see some more drone ships. I'm hoping we see like an Anvil drone Corvette or something, but drones are going to be very much a big part of the game. Which of the pillars do you think they're complete first? Org and group features will get some love first, then for persistence, then probably some more love for org features, and then finally server meshing. Any idea when I can expect anything on the Millennium Falcon? I mean, the Mercury Star Runner. I can't wait to get one on flight. I think we'll see work on it, or at least them starting to discuss work by the end of this year. And I think we'll see it flyable in game next year, because it's going to be the first of the Crusader ships they get out properly, and then they'll move on to the Hercules. Any advice on how to get my friends to play Star Citizen? I love the game, but it's boring by myself and orgs aren't active. Find an active org and find an active group within that org and get your mate involved with that. There are plenty of very active orgs. Any intel you can give about the gaming locations of Squadron 42, so 3 and 2, if they're not as same as Squadron episode 1? We don't have that much information on episode 2 and 3, other than they planned to be released episode 2 2 years after Squadron 42 episode 1 is released, and then 3 2 years after episode 2 is released. Bam. Oh my god, I said that in such an arse about face way. Expect them to be in different sort of like areas of space though. And there'll be a dedicated set of teams working on that. But when they're working on episode 2 and 3, they don't have to work on much tech. They're going to be working on ships, gameplay area, and cinematics. Significantly less than they're working on now for Squadron 42. And that engine and all of that will be done and ready already. So significantly less work. Will I be able to US all my own ships in Squadron 42? Will you be able to use all your ships? No. In Squadron 42, you're part of the military. You're serving before you're in the persistent universe. Any thoughts on when the game will be generally stable and bug-free enough to play, based on their current speed of bug fixing and bug introductions? I suspect we'll have something more like a beta for a game by the end of 2021. Maybe mid-2021 now going, well, okay, so we can have all the core features in and a much less buggy experience by the end of 2020, quite potentially, because they're getting all of that core of the game and all that Squadron 42 stuff done, which will then be subsumed for the most part into the universe probably by the end of 2020. So from a bug-free, stable point of view, probably at the end of 2020. But obviously there's so many more gameplay loops and so much more they need to do there, and gameplay features and loops, and introduce more bugs. There's lots of networking stuff they need to do. We get working lockers of the 3.5. I believe so. At least some degree. No, we don't. That's 3.7 physicalized inventories. My bad, Martin. We get working lockers in 3.5. No, 3.7. I misread that. I didn't misread it. I broke my brain. Apologies. 3.7. When I believe they're coming. With an Argo, you could potentially find a wrecked ship. Say I wanted to restore it, pull the wrecked hull back to your hangar and repair a ship. So that might be viable on some ships. However, some ships are going to just be salvageable, like they're too wrecked to repair. But some, yeah, you'll be able to repair, as far as I understand. Sometimes it might just be cheaper for you just to salvage them, or more viable. Question, what is with the hangars? Will we still be able to pick a hangar for the start of the game? I did not hear nothing about hangars in a while. I believe that's still the plan. You will, any hangars that you have on your account, you'll be able to place in certain locations around the verse as physicalized hangars that either that you'll be renting or that you own. That is still the plan. Will there be non-English ship manufacturers? Chinese, Japanese, German, Russian ships? So, yes, there will be companies, at least, and I assume ship manufacturers of different nationalities. And let me show you an example of one. There is a weapon, a Russian okay. So, for example, we have the Lightning Boat Company, which looks very Russian to me. But you'll have a variety of different manufacturers. I mean, some of these manufacturers are probably already from probably German, isn't it? Kronig? They're German, maybe? Who knows? Love your content, board. Take care. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Has there been any more details on how drones will work since the Valkyrie release? I don't think they've given any more since then. We know that there's drone bays, that drones will be able to come in and recharge, get new like loadouts and things. We know that you're going to be able to remote control drones. There's going to be drones for various purposes. Hardly sure all those purposes will be, but probably scouting, combat, tractor, rearm, repair, refuel. Think Star Citizen will finally turn subscription-based to fund the game, or will they sell these ships for the next 10 years to fund the game? They will explore all reasonable avenues to generate money if they need to. So, Star Citizen, Squadron 42, they're going to be selling copies of that. They'll be selling game packages, and they'll be selling UEC, the in-game currency. That's basically confirmed for all of that. Now, they could also, and they'll probably have, at the very least, voluntary subscriptions. But they shouldn't give you much in the way of in-game. They shouldn't give you an in-game advantage, but they might give you like in-game bonuses like aesthetic patches and armor and like pretty things, flair. But they also might potentially go for a subscription-based model in the future. Sell ship skins, sell concept ships still, things like that. They'll probably look at that and think about it, but they said they talked to the community about it before they did stuff like that. I've got an interview with Aaron where I talked to him all about that. I'll ask him that every year I get to interview with him. Like, are there any changes to the plans of what you said with how you're going to be funding the game after release? Will the SRV have a bed in it? It has a living room for 4 other people. I assume it has a bed in it. I'm not entirely sure. I know it has a living room for 4 other people other than the single pilot. So, carry 5 people at most. I think there will be a limit to how many SRVs can be used together, creating an SRV train. Yes, I believe there will be a limit, but I don't know what that limit will be. Have you tried using VR software like Vorpix? And if so, is it worth it? I used it ages ago. So like a couple of years ago, maybe a year ago actually now, since my last test before Vorpix. It can bodge something that's okay, makes me feel reasonably motion sick pretty quickly. Haven't tried it recently. I can look at it again, but it's sort of like it is very much a bodged experience, not a native. I mean, VR native is fucking amazing, and bodged can look cool and be a bit fun, but it's not probably not appropriate as Star Citizen. Fun. I hope they rework this cinematic cam soon. Will make it easier to make cinematics for us and bring more PR to the game. Yeah, I mean, they very much like the prettiness of the game and the fact that YouTubers and content creators just basically PR the game. Because it's pretty. Since some of us are already paying for subscription, won't that subscription carry over to the game with added bonuses for those that continue to remain a subscriber? Maybe, Ixenir. I wouldn't count on it. You get subscriber bonuses anyway in the forms of Flare and Marina Commander stuff and things like that. I wouldn't expect anything more than that. The old subscribers. I mean, you might get some bits and bonuses, maybe. It won't become a pay-to-win game, right? So it won't become a broken pay-to-win game. At least that's the plan. It shouldn't ever be a broken, shitty pay-to-win game. There are certainly elements of pay-to-win in Star Citizen, because you can pay for an advantage of time. You can go, well, I'm going to buy a capital ship in a concept sale and buy 30 of them, and I can sell them when the game begins. And I have loads of Alpha UEC. Ha ha! And you're going to be able to buy Alpha UEC in game with real money. You're able to buy as well. But does that mean the game's going to be broken as shit? No. I mean, Eve does it. Warframe does it to an extent. You can buy Warframes and things straight up. So it just needs to make sure that doesn't become a broken or stupid model. There needs to be one. I mean, everything in game, and that isn't broken in obtaining that. So it's like, well, you can buy this capital ship, or you can never earn it in game over 10 to 22 years. Yeah, so win is subjective to your playstyle 100%. However, pay to win refers more to, can you get an advantage in game by paying for it? And so you have to use the loosest term for these when we're talking about them typically, so that you can like set the bar for what it is. Otherwise, people can just redefine and move the goalposts constantly with all these terms. So I look at it from the point of view now that, does it give you an advantage? Yeah, I mean, it gives you an advantage. Of course it does. It gives you a time advantage at the very least. Is that trashy? Will that break the game? Is that like a broken pay-to-win model or anything? No, it's not. Of course, games can be fun. We typically use pay-to-win more when it is something that is unobtainable unless you pay for it. And in Star Citizen, there shouldn't be anything like that. But we're going to have to wait and see, and we're going to have to keep CIG sort of like clean. I think we'll have an Evocati build, so the flight model for 3.5, basically, is pretty much everything, the only thing they'd include in it in my summation of it. I think that we'll just see a flight model either this Thursday, Friday, or next Thursday, Friday for the Evocati. How do you envision enhanced ship scanners, Herald, Terrapin, Hornet Tracker, versus normal scanners like we have at the moment? I think that they'll be able to detect things at a larger range and be able to detect much more for specifically dialed in things. So they'll be much more sensitive to whatever you dial them in for. So whether that be EM, IR, or something else. So that means longer range, more options to be able to scan more precise points, things like that. They also might have better ways of mapping things, and generally better systems to passively track down things as well to detect them. Once they sort out network instances tech thing, server meshing and general server optimization, will there be just one mega server for each continent, or will there be more verses? If this is a stupid question, don't answer. No, that's a very valid question, because they haven't really 100% said. They want one mega server, if possible. They might have to break that down if there's too much lag or ping issue or problems into continental-based servers. They go, there's one for America, there's one for Europe, and you have to join that one, but you can choose to move across. They might break it down based on language if they really wanted, so you can have Asian servers and then Western servers or whatever. That's not a stupid question at all. We don't 100% know, but they want, if possible, one single mega server for everyone. Whether or not that's possible. Do you think there will be a price increase for the 300 series? Also, do you think it will actually have 8 SCU? You skipped me. I don't mean to skip you. I apologize. I think that there'll be more options when you purchase the 300 series, which may equate to a price increase because you'll be doing extras, changing its color, changing its loadout, things like that. That's with 3.5. They've got some sort of new customization system for the website plan for ships when they sell them. Do I think it will actually have 8 SCU? I think the 300i may have more cargo space, yes. Good starting amount of the UEC. You can start the game with 5,000. Why not? Start with 5,000. Start a ship. I think that's probably the best way to enjoy the game. And I have 173,500 UEC on my main account, and probably another 100,000 total across my others. Wow. So probably almost $300 I've spent on UEC. That seems ridiculous. Oh no, there'll be recruit and referral rewards. But I would have got them for probably. I do not recommend people buy UEC, in my opinion. Just earn it in game. You desperately want to get an advantage, buy a ship that you like. Not too expensive. Better to improve your PC than buy ships. Will there be more upgrade options for ships? That's what I believe is going to happen with 3.5, 300 rework, and the stuff they do for that. And in general, there'll be more modules, there'll be more upgrades and changes for ships. There's going to be subcomponents, lots and lots and lots of stuff coming soon. I can't do an American accent. You South African accent from Titanfall, from Blisk, who is a base South African. And then you have in Apex Legends, which is in the Titanfall universe, you've got what's his name? Gibraltar, who was a space Polynesian. And I find it funnier because They basically have the heritage, and they make them. They say, "Oh, this guy's from Polynesia," except he's not. He's from a random planet. He's an alien, effectively, and so is fucking Blisk. He's not. He's not from South Africa. He's from like a planet, and he just has a South African accent. It's just. It's really funny. I think Blisk's. I assume he's not South African. Actually, really, space. You know. Most game on PC. Most games on PC. This amazing cost upwards of $60 to $80. You know if CIG are planning to charge that much for Squadron 42 upon its completion release? I expect it to be $45 to $60. Probably more like $45. Squadron 42 episode 1 on its release. What are you more excited for, mech suits or tanks? Mech suits, but it's closely followed by tanks. I know there was only 2 options there, so. The people thinking $60 for it. I don't really know. I was assuming $45. Is there any advantage of having a standalone ship over a CCU'd ship? No? I was just about to thank that person that said that question in brackets questions, but then I realised it was Moobot. Thanks, Moobot. Conk. With the flight changes, do you know if they're modelling flaps in Atmo? So someone talked about this recently. It might have been you again, Scott. I saw it on the forums and stuff as well. I believe that there is a more in-depth atmospheric flight model. I do not believe it fully models flaps and glide into the system. Gliding will be there, uplift will be there, but I don't think it's fully modelled fully to the shape of your ship. I think it is partly sort of like number simulated. But you know what I mean? Sort of like fakes, partly faked. Should be able to glide your ship in, though, in atmosphere with all your thrusters disabled. Coming at the right angle, as far as I'm aware. Star Wars equal May the Force be with you. What? This isn't a Star Wars. Ow, I hit my hand. Right. Anyone else have any other questions? What have we got? Got anything else I wanted to talk about? Oh, we can talk about this very quickly, actually. Get some more questions in. So I think the Argo SRV is certainly one to get in game. I think $135? Yeah, around $135, $130, whatever. 150 for bond. Bit expensive, and I think this ship's going to be really quite cheap in game, for in-game credits when it's released. It's going to be there's going to be loads of them around as well. Like, these are super utility craft. They haven't got any weapons. They're just super useful for so many different roles. I mean, you're going to be using them in salvaging. You're going to be using them in helping people evac them, taking ships back for repair, helping them for repair, helping people mine, anything you can think of that you'd need tractor beams for. This is going to be great for. You can use them to help, like, cargo. You can probably take a good large cargo container with these. Also, maybe this is one of the ways that you actually get large cargo onto ships like the Hull E, like large cargo containers. Use an SRV. Bam, big container done. One-person ship, operated by one person, but boop, got a cabin for 4 people in there as well. I assume it's got a little toilety, side toilet or something you can use, like here. Sleep on the table like a bed? Why not? I love the idea of the ship. Proper tugboat, proper tractor gameplay, yeah, carrying cargo here. 2 of them carrying a constellation, though one might be able to carry a constellation by itself. Definitely carry a cutlass by itself. tracks and expands. Ship. But I think they're going to be reasonably cheap in-game, with in-game currency. So I personally would suggest people but then buy one then. You don't need to buy one now. They're going to be so widespread. Not you need to buy any ships at any point. You just go through with the starter ship, and that's what I would recommend for most people, although sometimes upgrading to the Avenger Titan might be preferable because they're pretty cheap and they give you the ability to do a lot more in the current game. But as we understand it at the moment, there's sort of like the ability to create a tractor bubble around ships. Help pull them. You can go through quantum drive and pull them. Multiple Argo SRVs can pull a ship. Yeah. The loaner for the ship is a prospector. Don't know when it's going to be released. Probably next year. Probably as early as mid next year, actually. They'll probably want it. I mean, maybe they want it for Squadron 42. Sort of thing you would see in Squadron 42, isn't it? So like ships out, the military using them. Looking ship. 2 carrying a constellation. We saw, but they said that 1, based on the constellation's load, 1 SRV might be able to carry a constellation, but 100% no until it's built out, I suppose. So besides the new flight model, anything else coming in 3.5 that's kind of big? Good question, seeing that. So 3.5 big things are ArcCorp and Area 18 for ArcCorp. So Giant City Planet, new mission giver for that as well. The DNA face customization system with women's as well. So you're about to have female characters. You're about to have a load more customization of your character. What else is pretty big? 300 series rework with some interesting new ways of customizing them from the website. So much more ship customization. The Banu Defender, so the first Banu ship, which will set the gold standard for the rest of the Banu ships. Got what effectively might be a hit scan weapon with the Banu Singe Tachyon cannon. Flight model, obviously, that's what you identified earlier. Lots of new AI stuff that's going to be making use of the flight model, tweaks to that. And then we've got a variety of other things, some of which are pretty big, some of which are much smaller. Sort of like a new combat system as well, and gimbal convergence for pips and stuff coming with the new flight model and ESP and stuff like that as well. Lots of buffs and tweaks to the new missions, group system improvements, lots of ship and vehicle and HUD updates, quantum travel improvements, AI distress beacony stuff so that you can do service beacons with AI, starting to have more in-depth bounty hunting and law and reputation stuff, although we'll get even more of that with 3.6, and then continued system and item 2.0 stuff with each generation this time, and wear and tear, or more wear and tear. There's quite a lot coming with 3.5. So the Argo SRV is the first concept sale of this year, yes. And it ends on the 4th of March, this concept sale. 3.5 will be released live build at the end of March. That's the plan. Can you think of a slogan for Star Citizen like live long and prosper, or may the force be with you? Star Citizen, great things take time. I mean, it has to be sort of like an acknowledgement that it's taken fucking a long time, but that they're trying to build something great. So greatness comes to those who wait. It will be something like that. I'm pretty good at slogans. If you give me a day, I can come up with some fucking beauties. 3 planets total with gas giant for Stanton. I don't know what you mean by that. So the Stanton system, to be considered complete, needs its planetary bodies. So ArcCorp, Crusader, Hurston, Microtech. There's 4 major planets there. Yes, one of them is a gas giant. And then their landing zones for them, and then all of the moons for them. There's also a major point of interest, the Aaron Halo, which is a giant sort of like asteroid field, which also acts as like a customs and gate area, and so lots of these like big space station-y things there. It also needs its jump points there to Proro, Magnus, and Terra. 3 points is connected to, isn't it? It's not connected anymore. And then filling out some more interesting points of interest and the procedural generation for asteroids and stuff like that. That's what Stanton needs to be considered complete. My sound coming in and out. Sorry, I was probably whispering like that. Apologies. Have you considered doing a theoretical upgrade path for ships video? Cargo, mining, fighting. Yes, but I'll look at that when I do my new Ship Buyer's Guide series when 3.5 comes out. Why don't they implement ship rental in 3.5? Because it's in 3.6? Because it's in 3.6? Yeah, they should have it in 3.5, I agree. But it's in 3.6. Because they hate us. Do I use a HOTAS setup? I prefer using a mouse and keyboard at the moment to ease of use, just for ease of access, because I record, because I'm constantly doing other things, not tabbing and that sort of stuff. However, the best HOTAS that I have used and would recommend is the Virpil Constellation. That throttle and that stick are fucking superb. Like, they are amazing. I'm hoping we get a light tank as well, because obviously the Tonk is, the Nova tank is much heavier, so it's like a heavy tank. I'm hoping we get light tanks. I'm hoping we get sort of like military style APCs as well. BoredGamer, love your videos. Hope your father's recovering well from his surgery. Love from California. Appreciated, J-Bird. Appreciated. Yes, he's doing pretty well. He's actually walking around the house today. I'm walking around. And he's trying to lift things. It's like, don't fucking lift things. Is there a subscriber flash sale every month? I think there probably is. Yes. What do you expect exploration gameplay to be like? How will that profession make money? So, I expect exploration gameplay to allow you to travel long distances within, well, you'll be able to quantum jump and go through jump points and stuff as well, but you'll be able to go to the outskirts of a single system that you're in, because there's going to be a huge amount of space there that's unexplored effectively. So the idea will be you're scanning down points of interest, scanning down, because it's going to be discovery and stuff like that as well. So you'll be surveying planets, finding areas on planets, working out if it's worth building things on planets as well by surveying the land there, finding asteroid fields, finding derelicts, things like that, scanning down interesting points of interest, like potentially alien ruins and weird black holes and other anomalies, going to visit some of them, going to gather information on some of them. There'll be missions that will be like collect flora and fauna. There'll be lots and lots and lots of things which are connected to science and exploration simultaneously. And those exploration ships and expedition ships will allow you to go long distances within the same system efficiently, potentially indefinitely, to go and find and scan down some of these interesting bits and bobs. And there might be information as cargo, so you'll be like scanning this interesting black hole type anomaly or whatever, and be able to sell that to the Science and Exploration Guild or whatever. But there's going to be a lot. We're not entirely sure exactly how it's all going to work, but expect it to cross over quite heavily into science. Will there ever be a Star Citizen film? Maybe. How are you so amazing? Kieran, thank you very much. I love you. Mwah. Have you met any women actually interested in Star Citizen? Yes. Zin and Kit, both interested in Star Citizen, but to a degree. Zin more so because she might be working with me soon. When I go to BritainCon and CitizenCons, there's been a variety of women there that have been very interested. Like, a lot of them have got their partners interested in Star Citizen. They're like, oh my god, this game looks cool. Yeah, there's a variety of women that are actually interested in it. Typically more men. Typically, I think 96% of my audience is male. So I've been playing around with distortion weapons in Arena Commander, and they don't seem to do much of anything, and they are not fully functional yet. No, they're not fully functional yet. They're doing a distortion weapon rework soon. Do you think quantum travel should start slower, but get faster and faster the longer journey lasts? I think that's sort of like what it does over long distances, based on your drive. Pulls up, gets faster and faster, and then spools down. Your options. What in your opinion are we missing from the ship roster? Mine layer, potentially a space station builder, one each of small, medium, and large for each of the roles, including salvage, mining, and refueling. There. All loads and loads and loads of ground vehicles that do almost all the same roles as ships as well. Potentially something to aid to manufacture. Quite a lot. Do not have my Javelin. No. With the release of the Bounty Defender in 3.5, do you think they'll implement EMP missiles too? When is the... I don't know when they're going to have balanced. Maybe, but I'm not sure when they're going to have balanced EMP and warfare. Well, EMP and distortion weapons. I'm not sure. Maybe? Do you think the Endeavour will be able to run solo with NPC's crew attending the drug lab? Yeah, potentially. As long as you've got NPCs, you'll probably be able to do all those sort of like capital ships, but they're probably not going to be as efficient as players. Almost certainly not going to be as efficient as players. Would you ever consider doing a setup guide for the T50 throttle and Constellation Delta? I'm having trouble getting all the buttons to work. Yeah. DC's got my joysticks at the moment because he's doing some stuff with them. Because he's smarter than I am, basically. Yeah, I can look at that. I think Noob's got them as well, so I can poke Noob. Noob will be able to do something a bit better than I am. All I want to do is be able to know what throttles are good and sticks are good. Like, be able to talk about them with a reasonable level of knowledge, rather than actually use them regularly or maybe even do much content on them. I want to be able to say Constellation Delta and the Constellation and Verpal make the best, in my opinion, sticks. I love that stuff. You're pooping watching me, Johnny Cashflow. Do I help you regulate? When do you estimate outpost plotting will come out? Don't know what you mean by outpost plotting. There's going to be land claims, which come out as the first sort of like outposty type gameplay stuff. It's a prerequisite of it, I suppose. So it's going to be looking after land-based missions, dropping your plots, working out how all the gameplay works with that. There's going to be surveying of land eventually as well, and then there's also going to be the outpost building that will come with the Pioneer. But potentially, there might be some stuff that the Argo SRV, for example, can lift to planets with its tractor beams, so like defense turrets and things. When do we think we'll see the Drake Corsair? Also, will it be a cargo or an explorer focused? We're not entirely sure. We're not entirely sure either if the Drake Corsair will come out, but it's almost certainly going to be like, I would expect it to be the next concept sale. It's expected to be a Constellation type Drake ship, probably with more of a focus on an Explorer. Will they ever give the early backers or referral rewards to I refunded over 100 people before the whole referral thing and I got nothing for it? Good job. With the rework of the Vanguard series and release of the Harbinger and Sentinel, do you think they gonna bring out the BUK of the ships? So Battlefield upgrade kits, just assume that Battlefield upgrade kits and kits are just collections of items that you can put on ships. And when those items are available, you will have them available in the verse. So potentially with Harbinger and Sentinel, those Battlefield upgrade kits will give you those items. I don't 100% know, but I would expect them. I have the Freelancer missile boat and I can't actually fire off salvo missiles yet. When will they work on the missile system? Missile system is getting improved and updated for 3.5 with the new flight model. I don't know the specifics of how each ship is going to work with that though. Will a fleet of SRVs be able to pull a moon for orbit? No. Good call though. Sorry, I meant once quantum drive spooled, less than 20 seconds. So I think the idea is that when your quantum drive spools up, yeah, and then the longer you're in quantum travel, the faster you effectively go until you get to a certain peak, and then you slow down when you're coming out of quantum travel. I think that's the way they want to do it. I think that's the way it is sort of working
Tricksy
now.
little hobbitses.
27 months of being less bored, waiting for Star Citizen to launch. Thank you, Richard, for the dedicated and pro content.
Thanks, Noob. Love your face. Yeah, I was talking about you a minute ago. I'm not sure if you're actually here, but I do love you. Someone was talking about the T50 and was like, can you do a setup guide or whatever to me? And I was like, you're probably better placed to do that. Noob has just recently done a stick fight, slightly different from his normal content. So being a bit more sort of like him being a commentator in a boxing match with joysticks. But he goes through all of the good ones. If you want to link your video, Noob, you're more than welcome to. Are you just ignoring me? Are you just ignoring me? Are you? You are just ignoring me, are you? What have I ignored? Have I ignored Jab? Can't see any questions. Can't see you've said anything. Maybe it doesn't show me everything. I apologize. Feel like I've been ignoring you. Feel free to ask your question again. Bored, your opinion. Will we see the Drake Corsair concept sooner in the year or later? I think we'll see it as the next concept sale. Probably at the end of March. Expecting concept sale every 6 weeks. Will there be hireable NPC mercenaries to use as inventory? Probably, but we're not entirely 100% sure what the restrictions and limitations on NPC crews and NPC hiring is going to be yet. I may be out of line here, but I've got to ask if you know anything about the benefits of special oils. Help your dad recover. Morphine helped a lot. He's recovering fine. In pretty good care. The NHS does have waiting lists. However, in more terminal cases and more well triaged cases, they're pretty good. At least from my experience, they are. And they've been very good to my father, and he's recovering well. So I don't think he needs any further help. If something terrible happens, or if the cancer spread or whatever, I'll talk more about it on my channel. I cannot see any other questions from you, Jab. When I asked you to ask it again, you just said that you asked it 3 times. Just double check. Let me just roll up. Good question, brackets? I can't see it. Do you think the 325A will still be an interdiction ship, seeing as it will get a size increase? It'll fit some form of fighter role, whether it's an interdiction ship or more of a frontline fighter or more of a luxury fighter. How am I enjoying Apex? Very well, actually. I love Apex. I think it's one of the best games I've played in years. Very, very enjoyable. Get quite grumpy at some of my friends playing it with me because I haven't learned how they all play, and they all play so differently. Zin and DC play very, 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 very well. I understand how they play, but I have some issues with playing some of the other mates just because I need to adapt to them because they don't play so much, and I find it frustrating because I start to do something and expect something, but they play differently because they're different people, which is entirely fine. It's something I need to fix, but the morphine did help him a lot. Are they going to work on prospectors so we can drop ore? Yeah. So there's 2 things that the prospector will be able to do in the future, I believe. Drop its individual mining pods. So it literally fills up these bags of mining ore and drop them off later. And I believe it's also going to be able to eject any parts of ore it doesn't want. It's because Jab's a new member or something. It doesn't allow him. Okay. What will your personal goal be in game? What will you aim for, and how long will you play to get there? How will you enjoy the game? So obviously I'm going to be creating content on Star Citizen. So I will try and cover a bit of everything. And I'll play and grind and do footage and do videos and stream all aspects of the game. However, what I enjoy the most and will grind at and play the most is economy gameplay. So that will be a mixture of the banning merchantman style trade. Not massive cargo hauler, but I probably will do some cargo hauling because I'll probably grab a hull E when I can, make a load of money from that. But also it will be outpost building and outpost management. Very interested in that. Survey gameplay, mining, tracking down locations for mining, locations for base building, exploiting those resources on planets, all that sort of stuff. Thank you very much for finding that guy's message. I apologise, Jab90, for not reading it out. Personal goal in the game is just to make as much money as possible in game. Simple as that. Be successful, be fun, have fun, have some great stories to tell, that sort of stuff. I'm interested in playing the game, going to conventions and things, and then chatting to people while getting drunk there about how cool this thing was, or this thing was, or whatever. Ugh. We have to wait until November to buy the Banny Defender. No, it should be a flyable sale when 3.5 is launched. End of March, expected to be on sale again. Will there be, or is there a targeting articles for third-person flight? No, there's not currently. I don't know if there's any plans to. I don't believe there is. They haven't discussed any plans to. Do you think having a limited time / event skin sales would be good and add more variety in the verse? Yes, I actually do. I think that would piss some people off, but I think that's quite a good way of doing it. Damn right you love me. No worries, Scott. Thanks very much for watching. Very much appreciated. Yes, my dad gets better entirely soon as well. I hope it's all sorted. Why does your MFD have random people keep showing up on it? Because it hates you. Right. Is there any other questions? what I'm going to do is I'm going to go off and have sort of like lunchy dinner, pre-dinner. Dinner. You think by playing M? What? Let's see who else is streaming. G streaming. Like I cut his stream. Yeah. Super Mac Brothers is on, so we'll go and host him in a bit. Do you think if the Defender is docked at the Banner Merchantman as an additional turret that detaches in case of danger? Yeah, so there's going to be some interplay with the Banner Merchantman and the Defender. We're not entirely sure 100% what that's going to be. It's suspected that there'll be some limited, at least limited docking potential for the Defender. Yeah, maybe it could be a turret, but I think it's going to be so the Defender can dock with the Banner Merchantman for refuel and rearming, potentially a bit of repair, maybe, and can jump with it to save quantum fuel. That's my expectation. What are your thoughts on the Reliant Meiko, the reporting variant of the Reliant? Can you tell us more about the reporting in general? I can only tell you sort of very briefly what's been discussed about it. We have the render to texture tech, allowing people to, and the comcalls tech, allowing people to actually stream and display things and events that are happening around the verse. So we don't know exactly how the Meiko is going to make use of that. We don't know if it's going to be you can stream events that are happening in the verse, like races or whatever, and then stream them to other people's TVs or whatever. Can you make money like that? Is it based on how many viewers you have? Is it based on a mission, like you have to record a race or something? We just don't know. We don't know how it's going to work. Lots of ways it could work. We don't know for sure. What do you think of Star Citizen not having endgame content? Should CIG implement achievement system for people that want to do something and not just make our own content? So Star Citizen is going to have lots of late game content, including like capital ship battles and stuff. It's more of a sandbox. You can do anything you want sort of gameplay. There's going to be high risk reward stuff. There's going to be stuff that requires a lot more skill and late game stuff for sure. Do you think they'll build on the Star System another starport closer to Hurston or ArcCorp, so we'll have a closer quick launch area on the other side of the system? Yes, I think you'll see more stations and ports and things around the Stanton system, and with full persistence you'll be able to log out there more freely. Any idea on when the Polaris will release? No. Probably middle of next year. Will there be helmet cams like the Captain Cam? We can watch streams away from his team. Okay. I mean, there's the comms cam, which sort of works, and there's the potential for them to utilize render to texture tech like that. So maybe in the future, they certainly have the tech to do that. It's whether or not it's viable and will work network-wise, and whether they see a merit in that. 3.6 has cargo stations on the roadmap for overclouds. Yeah, there's other stations they're going to be utilizing as well. More are going to be coming on this year, on later this year. Some automated stations as well, like the old Astro ones. Right, I'm going to go host Super Mac Brothers. I love your faces. You take care, guys. Thank you very much for the support and the subscriptions and the bits and the love and the donations. It is very much appreciated. Got any feedback or you want to get in contact with me, please contact at boredgamer.co.uk. No, yeah, that's the one. I'll get through directly to me. I love your faces. Bam.